Peddler Polly and the Story Stealer by Aaron Shepherd. Peddler Polly, goods bought here and sold there.
That was the sign on Peddler Polly's cart as her horse pulled her up Main Street. Peddler Polly looked around and smiled.
I'm sure glad to be back at Tailtown. Imagine, a town where everyone tells stories.
Peddler Polly parked at the town square. Over on Town Hall, she saw a notice. Story swap. Today, bring a story, if you still know one.
If you still know one? Hello, Peddler Polly. Came a sad little girl's voice. Well, it's my old red penny. Do you have a good story for me? I'll gladly trade for something from my cart.
Penny sobbed and sniffed.
I don't have any stories at all. Hardly anyone in Tailtown does. We're all losing our stories. Losing your stories? Whatever do you mean? We start to tell a story and then it's gone. We can't remember it anymore. Come to the story swap this afternoon and see.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Another cart had parked on the square. Its sign said, Dr. Sebastian Spellbinder, Entertainment Paraphernalia.
In the cart stood a man with a top coat, a top hat, and a goatee, surrounded by piles of wooden boxes. A crowd was gathering before him. You've heard of a storyteller, and you've heard of a storybook. Well, I'm here to show you something fine as stone. The brand new, patented Spellbinder Storybox.
Oh, Peddler Polly, he's selling stories.
Dr. Spellbinder held up one of the wooden boxes, showing a pane of glass on the one side.
He flipped the switch and the glass came to life. Tiny characters moved across the pane and tiny voices came out.
Someone in the crowd yelled,
It's Cinderella!
Dr. Spellbinder turned a knob and a different moving picture appeared.
That's Puss in Boots.
He turned the knob again.
And that's Sleeping Beauty.
Never again will you have to ask for a story, and never again will you have to imagine the pictures. Who will be the first to buy my Spellbinder Storybox?
I'll take one.
So will I.
I'll take two.
Before long, Dr. Sebastian Spellbinder's car was empty. The town square was covered with children and grown-ups, all staring blankly at the little boxes.
I don't like the look of this. When Peddler Polly arrived at the story swap that afternoon, the town hall was packed. The room was buzzing with talk about lost stories and Spellbinder story boxes.
Finally, Mayor Bertha Bighook took the stage. She glanced nervously around her.
Welcome to the story swap. It is my honor to tell you the first story, The Pied Piper of Hamelin.
From her seat by an open window, Peddler Polly heard a soft whir and sucking sound.
Life in the town of Hamelin was pleasant, or it would have been if not for
The mayor turned pale.
I've lost my story.
And she ran from the stage. A horrified murmur rose in the room.
Milton Marbles, the school teacher, tried next.
My story is Jack and the Beanstalk.
Again, Peddler Polly heard the whir and the sucking.
There was once a poor widow who had an only son named oh
no! He fled the stage in tears.
Next came Penny.
This is the myth of Pegasus. Peddler Polly heard the noises once more.
A long time ago in Greece, there was a horse called Pegasus. This horse was special because... Stop the swap. We can't afford to lose any more stories. It's the end of storytelling in Tailtown. I'm so sorry.
As excited talk filled the room, Peddler Polly thought she heard a cackle out the window. She looked and saw a man with a top coat and top hat hurry away from the building.
He carried a large wooden box covered with switches, knobs, and dials, with a long hose attached to it.
It's Dr. Spellbinder. I'd better take a look into this.
Peddler Polly hastened in from the hall. She followed Dr. Spellbinder from a distance as he left the town and made his way into the hills.
At last, Dr. Spellbinder disappeared through the mouth of a cave. Peddler Polly followed him and stopped in astonishment. A huge cave was filled with mechanisms and contraptions, all of them noisily, pushing and pulling or pulsing or pounding. Dr. Spellbinder stood at a workbench covered with story boxes and other strange devices. He set down a big box he was carrying and patted it fondly.
3 more stories to put in my story boxes, and all thanks to my brilliant invention, the Spellbinder Story Sucker. Soon, I'll sell all the stories in the world. Then everyone will need a story box, and I'll be rich, rich, rich! Ha ha ha.
No, if I can help it.
Peddler Polly, what are you doing here?
Putting an end to your evil plans, Spellbinder.
You'll never stop me, Peddler Polly.
Then Dr. Spellbinder grabbed the story sucker and sprinted from the cave.
Down the hill sped Dr. Spellbinder, while Peddler Polly puffed in pursuit. Without the story sucker, Peddler Polly was faster.
You won't catch me so easily. He lifted the lid on the story sucker and reached in. See how you like this story, Peddler Polly?
He threw something behind him. There was a flash of light. And out of nowhere, a huge crowd of children appeared coming uphill towards Peddler Polly. They were led by a man in a many-colored costume playing on a pipe.
Well, I'll be.
Peddler Polly pushed past the startled man and pressed through the crowd of mesmerized children.
It's a catchy tune, kids, but I wouldn't follow a Pied Piper.
Dr. Spellbinder was far ahead, but Peddler Polly ran hard and gave him. One good story deserves another.
And he reached into the story sucker. Another flash. And Peddler Polly saw a boy chopping down a gigantic beanstalk. But just then, the boy took to his heels, calling,
Heads up!
Peddler Polly looked up and stopped just in time. A huge man tumbled from the sky and landed with a earth-shaking crash just before her.
Didn't know stories could be so dangerous.
Peddler Polly ran around the giant while she waved to the boy and called,
Thank you, Jack! Dr. Spellbinder had vanished behind a hill. Peddler Polly panted after him. As she rounded the bend, she gasped.
Tied to a landing platform was a lighter than an air balloon, and Dr. Spellbinder was climbing to a basket.
Oh no, now he'll get away for sure. Unless...
It's all over now, Peddler Polly!
Dr. Spellbinder untied the rope, and the balloon floated into the air.
But I still have one more story, and it might as well keep you busy.
if it's the one I think it is.
Dr. Spellbinder threw it to the ground. Another flash, and there stood a horse with long and graceful wings.
Pegasus!
Peddler Polly ran and leapt onto the horse and dug in her heels.
The horse flapped its wings smoothly and rose in the air. Up and up it spiraled, until it was flying circles around the dismayed Dr. Spellbinder.
Guess you forgot your mythology, Spellbinder. Didn't you know Pegasus was a flying horse?
Peddler Polly rode in closer, grabbing Dr. Spellbinder and flung him across the horse's back.
My story, sucker!
Cried Dr. Spellbinder as the balloon floated away with his invention.
I don't guess you'll need it where you're going. For a crime, like shutting up stories, a judge is sure to shut you up, and happily ever after.
A few weeks later, when all of Dr. Spellbinder's story boxes had been opened and the stories returned to their talent, the people of Tailtown held a big storytelling festival on the town square. Mayor Bigwig announced,
And our special guest for today is Peddler Polly.
Yay! Well, thanks. And now I'll tell a story called Peddler Polly and the Story Stealer.
And that's a tale
They'll always tell.
In tale.